Hey everyone. We're back for Godkiller, session 9. So we're, I guess, in the final run up, the or at least in the Act 3. My name's Donna. My pronouns are he, him. I'm running the game. Mads, why don't you introduce yourself, your Godkiller, and bring us up to speed on important stuff from last week.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Mads. I'm playing a Wal, uh, both of us with she, they pronouns. And yeah, Wal's in a bit of a quandary after coming into town, trying to find work to pay back her friend, her very kind friend who has allowed her to basically tag along. And she runs into a strange sight at one of these places, one of these towers here, and sees dying gods in cages and uh, tries to get a handle on one of them, like what could have killed them, how they could have, been captured and taken and taken out. And then one of them basically tries to take her, and then she manages to kill it, and the people there are uh, showing what they can do. They are wizards that are trying to kill all gods, and she was brought among them once they found out that she was one who had killed some gods so far, and she was telling them, trying to warn them about Orphanmaker and the Wolf's Head, and you know, they were they were thinking, yeah, yeah, we can help you, but you need to come and help us. And essentially be asked to denounce every god to help kill them all. And all the while in the back of Wal's head, she's remembering Edmund in that little place uh, back in his corner of the world, exiled corner of the world. And um, she is still interested in trying to figure out, like, his connection to anyone still loyal to him here, um, because he's tied in with the Mage Eater. And yeah, there's she never expected to be in the middle of not only god killing but also like divine intrigue. What is going on?
So, um, I don't know, there's some big things in motion. I guess the wizard, the leader of the wizards, Azrael, had promised you access to the resources
Mm-hmm.
of her order. Um, the archives, the records, everything like that, that might point towards some fatal weakness of the Orphan Maker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, They are planning some ritual to, um, to put themselves on the line to summon or attract the Orphan Maker to a place of reckoning. Um, but I think all of those things will take time. Yeah, we can fast forward through the to the boring bits. Um, but I think you have time to, catch your breath, to take stock, and to tease out some extra details about all those things. So, um, where would you think you're most interested in starting?
I mean, like, she can't resist a good archive or a good library,
Mhm.
so I think that's going to be the first place that she decides to go, after she gets a chance to clean up here and such. um yeah, and also, if I remember correctly, they have they have given her like some kind of ceremonial or like robes of office because they're, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're acknowledging her status, her, I don't know what to call it. I mean, like,
yeah.
she's just as like, you know, uh, surprised
Mhm.
as I am about like, wait, what's going on? Um,
So I know we described the wizard's robes as being, in comparison to maybe um the robes that Wal was wearing from their time in the cloister, relatively restrained, somber colors, maybe getting up to, a dull gold at the most extreme level for Azrael. Um, but stylistically, in terms of the cut and all that, very individualistic. Um, I wonder if it is something as simple as like taking the robes that you brought and like leaching the dye out of it, or like over dyeing it with
hmm
some other color.
yeah. I mean, wherever she fits in the hierarchy, I mean, that's, I imagine, what they've dyed her robes to be. And they've interacted with the colors of the original cloister colors. So any of the colors in her robe have been muted, especially the brighter ones, I guess.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, like, whatever somber color it's been, it's like it's either been transmuted because of like the cold complementary color thing, or they've just been like, made darker because of the
Mhm.
dyeing. Yeah.
Um, do you think it's something like ominous, like a dark crimson or something like that? That I guess the color of wine in the bottle or clotted blood or something. You know, those are two very
Some
different images, but the
yeah.
color I'm kind of thinking of.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, it's definitely nothing divine here. It's very
Hmm.
very much grounded in, you know, humanity, um, uh, life and death, basically. So probably a dark reddish brown. You know, and I mean that's fine. She's strangely comfortable in these robes. Like there's like a flash of her remembering something, as if this color is something that she's seen before. So, um, yeah. So she heads down to their library slash archive to see if she can find something, anything to give her a better idea of how to deal with the Orphanmaker.
Hmm.
Because I mean, as she's remembered before, I mean, like the others had some kind of weakness, some kind of um, yeah, vulnerability, and she's trying to find it.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
just out of curiosity,
yeah.
so and you can tell me if this is actually using the move. As she's making her way through this place, does she feel like any connection that she does have still with some of the more benign forces like Voice of the Cave? I mean, granted, it's very far from home, so, or from there, so it might be muted. But I mean, does she feel like an active suppression?
Yeah, I think there's something about these. I think it's a different tower, first of all, which
Mm-hmm.
is maybe the archive or slash library tower. But the feel inside is very, very similar in so far as you can I think it's almost like a dampening effect. Like
Mm,
if you were to try to unleash your divine powers here, they would be very much muted or, painful even um to bring to the fore.
right. Makes sense. Okay. I mean, and then she suspects as she moves down the stairs or up the stairs, whichever, I think she suspects as much of protection for her too, because just in case there's anything in their archive that could be in any way, shape, or form like of a summoning, it's probably best to have any kind of connection
Yeah,
dampened
yeah.
in this place.
I
The
think,
firewall.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think this is not like obviously the kind of airy, light-filled space of like a public library as we would imagine it, but I think it's quite dark and, and dusty. I think it's almost like the corridor, there's nothing but corridors in this tower. Um, and each of them has these little cubby holes carved into the stone, and each of these is stuffed with scrolls. Um, some of them are, fragile upon looking at them. Almost, they are so old, so decrepit that you imagine they would turn to dust if you touch them. Um, and others seem much more, much fresher. Uh, the dust inside has not quite filled beyond, hasn't been spring cleaned this year. Um, and I think, once there's obviously someone here who can answer your questions, but other than that, I think once you get in, you're almost given free rein to roam as you please. Um, and so, yeah, I guess the people here have been briefed maybe about your purpose and are happy to help, though it's not like they know exactly where everything is. This collection seems so old and put together from different people over the years that um, it's a serious task of memory and association to find anything in there. Um, I realize I'm describing the worst archive in history, but
Yes. Yes.
um, from every angle. Um, so yeah, I think you find a section um, about the kind of gods in Orphanmaker's what would we say? The, the
Domain.
the type of things that the orphan maker cares about. There are
Right.
like many gods who have over time immemorial concerned themselves with these areas of influence. So they seem to be grouped together along those lines. And, if you go a little bit to one side or the other, you will find things about, you know, closely connected topics. Um, So I think maybe a couple of things, over time, obviously, it's not like you hit the mother load the first scroll you pick out or anything, but I think we're happy to have a montage of researching. Um, you find something about um, again the kind of historian or the archivist who wrote this down doesn't seem sure whether it's like two faces of the same god, or two gods who are inseparable in all ways, a kind of a mother and a father god for their people. Um, who were the first true victims of the Orphanmaker, and on whose corpses the Orphanmaker first came to godhood. So the Orphanmaker killed these gods as something like a mortal and became a god after. Um, and I think it probably takes a lot of extra research to find out more about these two gods. Um, but eventually, like, so they are not really named. They're always like either called this kind of mother-father pairing, or what the locals called their mother or their father. But eventually, you get a hint that turns into a full confirmation that these two gods came from the north.
I think as she reads through these, was also given some parchment and papyrus stuff to like make notes. I think as she reads through these things delicately, carefully, and she sees about that mother father pairing, I think there's that familiar like jolt in her stomach, as if this is something very familiar, but she doesn't remember why. And she gets a she gets like a flash of maybe tattoos that were scrawled on people. Two separate symbols. They're not names, but symbols, iconography, something that she kind of remembers, but it's oh so faded in her own memory and on this particular parchment because it's very, very old, as if someone has passed it down, but then like the copyists or whomever was trying to take it down from the oral storytellers was not able to really figure out what was trying to be described, right? So, lost in translation. But yeah, sounds very familiar to Wal.
Um, what else? I think, and again, I think like when you read stuff from these like dusty historians who may or may not have quite believed what local people told them, there are, the stories are exaggerated or folklore or whatever, and um, there's, I don't know, a certain amount of superiority in in the subtext, right, that you're reading. Um, but a lot of this rings true to you. And there's something um, like the there was a war brewing, and to give their people the weapons they needed to protect themselves, the mother father summoned a meteorite, summoned something from the heavens to give them the material to forge weapons. And And so I think the kind of the general conclusion here is that this act sealed their doom, for it was this that killed the orphan maker's family.
Maybe it's maybe it's her experiences in copying a lot of illuminations, a lot of illustrations, a lot of things that seem so fantastic in the myth and the fable and the legends that just kind of like spark her imagination as she's reading through this, even as spotty and like makeshift as it seems in the translation. But I mean, like the images that kind of call up in her head as she's reading through these things, like she's seeing, I think she's seeing these people. She sees them as people without faces necessarily, but she kind of feels like she's hearing chanting, and this is the best way, this is the only way to give you the power to help yourselves. We shall call upon power from the stars. We shall call upon the metal of the sky to give you strength, give you power, and a summoning, a crash of a meteorite, and children devastated because there were people that were lost with the crash of this heavenly symbol, this heavenly gift. And I think one of these children could not appreciate it for what it was and decided to take revenge upon those that decided it was a good idea to call upon this gift. She doesn't agree that it's necessarily cause for revenge, but she can see why. She can see why from both sides, and it's disturbing. It's disturbing to her that this gift, this act of protection or empowerment for a whole people is sparking the cause of vengeance in one that will eventually uh, kill their saviors. It's, she kind of rereads that whole passage, wondering if she's reading too much into it. But no, I mean, like it feels like there is someone who has spoken, a child who has cried out at these saviors of the people and said, "You've saved nothing because you've taken away from me. This gift is no gift when it has taken my heart and filled it with emptiness and darkness." And again, that superiority probably comes through because it's like, it's a tale. It's a tale that they're hearing from a storyteller, but this storyteller is quite serious. So at least the translation has been passed down. These words have been carried over, and maybe there's like an annotation somewhere, like on the bottom, saying it's like unlikely that a child would have these words within them. But yeah, I think the legend grew, and this child did grow to resent and hold hate for these saviors of the people. And yeah, she can see where that would be the dark foundation for someone like the Orphanmaker. Yeah.
How I'm not sure how many kind of lonely, dusty days of research this is for Wall, but when they have put this together and this kind of revelation or realization is in their heart, like how are they walking out into the sunlight back to their inn or
I mean, she doesn't realize it. I mean, like, I don't even think that she's taken a drop of anything really since they gave her the first, you know, welcome victuals or whatever. They've kind of left her to her own devices, and it's like I think it's actually late before she manages to realize, oh, wait, I've been here for a while. Been researching. My eyes are tired, and I need to get back to my accommodation and um, yeah, just mull over it, I think. And I think she will make her way back. I don't know whether Tiresias has come back to the room or if he's like still partying downstairs at this place or what have you.
um yeah, I mean I think given the time lapse for this kind of initial stretch of research. Maybe it's his final night in the city and he's, gotten all the goods together for the trip back and is maybe leaving in at first light back the way he came. Um, but yeah, I think if you wander back to the inn, certainly you notice this odd, maybe unconscious look on your face, right? There'll be definitely a moment where he realized he can excuse himself from company and intercept you on the way up to the room or get you something to drink and eat.
Yeah, I mean, she looks tired. I mean, she looks like she has not had anything for quite some time today, or this, for however long it's been, really. And she's like looking very pensive. She's not necessarily looking at him, but she kind of like nods absentmindedly as he asks if she wants anything. She just kind of like says, like, yes, that would be good. And then she'll like not look as he offers some things, some small things, and a mug. And she'll eat and drink like almost mechanically because she's just thinking about it so hard. And it shows on her face that she's doing this.
Um, and I think, when it seems obvious that you're like in this kind of detached state, I think he says something ridiculous, in this kind of, oh, if I keep making this more ridiculous, it'll become at some point in time obvious that this other person isn't listening, right? Um, I think he gets to, and then we're gonna ride the frogs up the staircase. Um,
Frogs. Wait, frogs?
yeah, we're gonna ride the frogs up the staircase.
What is in this? She finally like raises the mug and what is in this?
Like watered wine, as usual.
Did you have too much of something else?
No, no,
Because
no, you have had too much of something else. You haven't been paying attention for at least, oh, however long it is since you sat down here.
Sorry. I managed to get into the wizard's tower today and talk with them about the possible coming invasion of the Wolf's Head. I was doing research to see if I could. They're saying, and she kind of blurts it out to him. They're saying they can figure out a way to summon the Orphanmaker to get to a place where we can kill him. Them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, summoning something like that is probably the last thing I would think of because that sounds a bit scary, but
Orphanmaker's hiding behind the Wolf's Head. I know that whatever they're doing as they invade, killing off parents, having the children join their army, and amassing an army wherever they go as they take over, it feeds into the Orphanmaker. Hence the name, I guess. But I know now, I think, where the Orphanmaker came from and why they're doing this. Just have to find a way to make that work, to bring them completely down once we get the Orphanmaker where we want them. But I was also seeing visions today as I was reading the stories. And out of the blue, she'll look at Tiresias like, full on, like right in the eye and go, "Do you think about your parents? I don't think I've ever asked you."
uh, well, I mean, yeah,
Are they,
but I mean, I didn't bring it up because it seemed a bit insensitive, given everything. Uh, but yeah, I mean, think about them as like they're not always writing me letters or sending me orders or saying, "Oh, well, once you get to 20 times on the staircase, you'll be good to go up to the next level of management in the family business," right? I mean, yeah, it seems strange, but sometimes I wish like they weren't around to nag me and all that.
oh, oh, you don't want to wish that. Don't,
Exactly,
don't
it's I just say
wish that.
sometimes it seems like, it's too much. But I yeah, I recognize that that's, easy to say from this side.
I feel like the more I look into this, for some reason, I keep remembering. I don't think I ever told you, did I? I was brought to the cloister when I was very young. I don't think they ever told me. I don't think they ever told me what happened to my parents. Where they came from, who they were. I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, my read on the cloister is that the only time they care about who your parents are when they're rich and powerful and can be patrons. Otherwise, it's none of their concern where their acolytes come from.
Yes, I've seen that too. But I don't know, Tiresias. I feel like the more I find out, the more I worry about the wolf's head coming and taking over and just causing this chaos, this pain and suffering for nothing. I just feel like it's feeding more into Orphanmaker's power. But for some reason, I keep feeling like I understand Orphanmaker, which is. It sounds insane. Why? Why would I. The tale is that there were leaders of Orphanmaker's people who called upon the heavens to send a gift, a way for them to defeat those that were invading them. And they got it. They got a great metal that came roaring out of the sky. But this gift caused the death of Orphanmaker's parents before they became what they are now. And they swore vengeance. They swore vengeance upon these leaders that thought that this was a boon given to them by the heavens. Well, because their parents died, they swore revenge and became a god for killing their leaders. Out of revenge. And I don't know why, but I shouldn't understand it. I don't know why, but I feel like I know how Orphanmaker feels, but I shouldn't. That sounds absolutely ridiculous. And I should hate Orphanmaker for all the pain that they've caused through the wolf's head. But yet I also understand why they do what they do. How does that make sense?
Uh, I mean, I don't think it doesn't have to make sense. Like, just because you understand why someone did what they did, it doesn't mean you agree, right?
Right. I don't like what the wolf's head's doing. They're like a. What is it? They're. They're like a disease. They're like pestilence. But more terrifying, I guess, because Orphanmaker's driving humans to go against humans for their power, as opposed to pestilence who just, I guess at the snap of a finger, just causes the rot to creep on whatever they want. I guess that just seems more terrible to me.
Just means makers doing harm twice over with every act of evil.
Seems like it, yes. I'm glad you're. I'm not. I'll be sorry to see you go tomorrow.
Me too. I don't
You'll be.
know.
She looks into her mug very awkwardly, like it doesn't. Kind of gestures for you to continue.
Um, I don't know who you have here once I'm gone. You can talk to like this.
I think that's what I'm gonna miss the most. Someone to come out and talk to after I have these weighty topics in my head. Why? I don't think I've ever asked you that either.
Why what?
Why, after all this time, you come to the cloister and, want to tell me like your latest gossip, all the things that you've seen, all the things that you've done in those other towns. Why me?
Um, Gee, I mean, who else would listen to my nonsense? Uh, I don't know. I guess I thought you were my friend. And who else am I gonna hang out with? I mean, that seems really, really basic, right?
Well, I'm sure some of the other acolytes were interested in talking to you as well. You're you're not bad to look at.
I see. Well, there was some I thought were after me for the freshest cinnamon buns. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you
Wait,
enjoyed
you
the
gave them. Wait, you gave them cinnamon buns. I got pears.
um, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, I thought you were after me for my scintillating conversation,
It.
and
I. I am. I
okay,
was.
okay, you were, but not anymore. Now that you
No.
know about the cinnamon buns, okay, okay. I mean, pears are underrated, underrated fruits. Pears.
And there's probably like the plate of fruit and sliced pears that's on the table right now. She's just realized that she's been snacking on those while we've
Hmm.
talked, and it's just hilarious. She just starts to laugh.
So I mean, I'll know better. No cinnamon buns for anyone except Wal, right? That's you're not a jealous friend. You just want all of the cinnamon buns. I get the memo.
She can't help herself. She just she keeps laughing, and she tries to take a drink, and it sloshes on her, and she's just laughing away, and she's just feeling like the weight has lifted, at least for a little while. And she kind of just gives him a playful, like, little punch on the shoulder and
Hmm.
says, "Yes, I will miss you for you, idiot."
Okay, well, I'm warned for next time. Don't show up without any cinnamon buns, or there will be a painful reckoning.
And she kind of stops and gets serious again. I hope I'll be here for that next time.
You better be. You owe me.
I do. Yes. She laughs again. Yes, I do. I know. I'll see what I can squeeze out of the wizards.
I
Some
think
kind
they're
of.
rich and powerful.
Gonna try to take advantage of that if I can. Stipend. I need a stipend, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I hope you
Yes.
haven't signed any contracts. Yes,
No,
without.
I haven't. And then she's kind of thinking back and going, wait, what was that ritual? Whoops. Um,
What? I mean, you didn't
Um,
swear an oath or anything stupid like that.
she stops, keeps a smile plastered on her face, and says, "No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, I wouldn't do anything stupid like that. No." Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's wrap up that there. Maybe we take a break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, where do we pick up the next day? Let's, there's probably a few things. One was the prospect of a weapon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, don't know what else might have been on your list.
Um.
I mean, before we jump into that, the other thing that you mentioned earlier on about Edmund's the the key pennant,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
whether you feel like you in the middle of some other stuff want to look into that or delve deeper into the other side of the city.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to. Um, I think it would be interesting to see if I could find anyone that remembers and um, you know, still is loyal to Edmund, to see what their side is and how things are running here in the City of Towers. So,
Yeah. Um, I
because I mean, like the
guess,
hunt would be,
yeah.
there would be a hunt for the medal. Like if
Hmm.
there's, you know, any idea of what this exactly is, like if it's something available somewhere or if there has to be a quest. Um, and then also seeing if there's you know any kind of connection I can make with anybody loyal to Edmund. I think now that she's outside of the archive as well, I think she'll want to take a little time before she goes back. Well, after saying goodbye to Tiresias, and then also before she heads back to the Wizard's Tower. I think she's going to also want to commune um, a little bit, and I think I just want to back it up a little bit, like maybe they talk and joke some more, like she's full of like the watered down wine, getting actual sustenance and such. Um, and then like I think as she's going to sleep, maybe she kind of poses the question to whomever is out there for a pray for guidance kind of thing. Now that she doesn't feel like the dampening effect on her, and I think as she closes her eyes and then goes into sleep, I think she's just thinking about, this is what I know. I want I want to understand, and I want to find their weakness. If I understand, I will know where they were vulnerable. And yeah, she kind of slips into sleep, I think, soon afterwards. And I think, yeah, to try and get some kind of answer about killing Orphanmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think.
which one do you want to answer? It sounds like you want me to answer what kind of God.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
I mean, maybe she's thinking over everything that she's read today. You know, the myth about the two leaders, about the meteorite that they caused to crash down, and the child, Orphanmaker before they became Orphanmaker. And I think the visions that kind of come up, she's in darkness and she hears crying. It is a child crying in the dark, sobbing. And she hears herself saying, "It's all right. It's all right. I'll come and find you." And she can't see anything, but she's feeling around like with like her hands that she still can't see because it's so damn dark, like in front of her, and she's kind of feeling around going towards the sound of the child sobbing. And I think it's almost as if she's making her way through some kind of blasted landscape. She doesn't feel any kind of flora, you know, any kind of surroundings necessarily, but she can feel like sharp stones and bare, dusty ground underneath her feet. And she's heading towards the child sobbing. And she can't see the child, but she knows that it's someone like not too young, but I mean like just young enough to be in certain places, like almost a man. And she doesn't see this child, but she's kind of like fluttering her hands around and then she can feel like a thin back and she can it's almost like she's like right next to this person that's sobbing and she's just trying to pat on their back and say, I I don't know where it hurts. I don't know what to do, but I can try and help you. And I think once she starts making the pats on this person's back, it's like the darkness has gotten hold of her and the crying is like in her face now, like it's all around her head, like this person sobbing and screaming in her face as it's there's a grip, there's a grip on her hand and she still can't see anything. And she feels like the grip is crawling up her arm and it feels like there's these cold claws that are just like clamping down on her whole body, over her head, on her body, around her legs, and just kind of like as if something is stuffing her into its maw. That's the vision she gets. But she's all the time hearing this child sobbing,
hmm.
even as she's being consumed.
um, yeah, I think I'm just gonna pile on some extra imagery here.
Mm-hmm.
You realize maybe that this gravel that you're crawling along and that, you're now kind of up tight against this um weaving figure. Every single one of these pebbles underfoot is actually a tooth. You're in this whole landscape is like a maw of something. And you get this flash of pain in your hand that you haven't felt. Like now that you've been free of it for a few days, it's like it hurts so much when it returns. And this this child, but I guess we don't mean child, we mean like the child of someone,
Yeah.
um, looks at you with these piercing, headache-inducing eyes and says, I understand why you killed my father. Little Slaughter was a difficult person to love, and even more terrible without love in the equation. And the the teeth, the rough, scaly press growing ever more painful releases. Hmm. And then behind you, you hear a familiar voice. See, kiddo, what goes around comes around. But, well, your any realization that you're a complex human being is not quite what the Orphanmaker can take. It does not perceive nor can encompass any level of forgiveness for what it has done.
I think she turns around, if she can. Dogtooth?
And I think like when you turn around, you're back in your bedroom in the inn, and he is like sitting on the windowsill, uh, legs dangling outside. Of course. Who else? I
What are you
don't dole
doing?
out this hard-won wisdom to just anyone.
Maybe you've never heard this before, but I'm glad you're here.
Well, sure. Well, let's put. So here's the twist, the rub. I don't know. There's got to be some kind of turn of phrase that. Here's the kicker. Here's the sting in the tail. Here's what you may not like to hear. For vengeance against those who made this terrible decision. All that stuff. Someone of that line should be punished. So you might have to risk yourself for this thing to come out in the open.
Like her brow is furrowed. She's thinking very hard about what he could possibly mean. Why are you being cryptic? You're not you're not one of those coming down of old and speaking in riddles or mystic phrases.
I'm not being cryptic. You're just half asleep, and full of wine. I mean, I can smell it from here. You're not even hungover yet. That's how drunk you are. So,
What? Is Teresa's waking up at all? Like, while she's talking with Dogtooth?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, he is from having slept in all kinds of places,
That's true.
unless he hears someone messing with his oxen or with his goods, well, can't be woken up by a mere conversation happening.
True. True. Um, and she's like furrowing her brow, thinking about it. Wait, you can't be serious.
Can't be, oh, I am always so serious.
No, you are not. You are never serious. What?
Oh, but you just said I cannot be serious. Was that like some kind of rhetorical snub? I'm incorrigible. I would realize that.
Oh,
But please, let's be serious for a moment. I'm sure I can fake it.
I don't know if I can put this into words because it sounds so incredible to say. Are you saying that I am a descendant of those people? Those leaders that caused the meteorite to fall?
Yeah, well, of course, but like, how many generations back is that?
I.
Like you have two parents, they have two parents. I mean, if we go back 20 generations, how many people is that? How many people are in the world right now? Like, if we go back 1,000 years or whatever it is, of course. Like, I'd say half the people in this world are descended from the mother and father. That's nothing to write home about. It's just mathematics.
But then you're saying that Orphanmaker is originally human too.
I mean, it's not something we like to admit, but a lot of gods were human at one stage. I mean, like, some gods are obviously like human in origin because they care about things only humans could really care about.
She kind of smirks a little bit and says, "Were you human?"
Listen, don't be asking questions like that. That's really like gauche.
I'm okay, real okay. Very
I mean, like a,
personal.
a god does you a personal favor, answers a prayer in person in your bedroom, only eats half of the cinnamon bun that your friend had left for you for the morning. And like what thanks do I
Wait, what?
get? I
What? You?
what? I said only half. And it feels to me like you're shooting the messenger
I'm.
because you
I'm
don't.
not. I. Okay, Dogtooth. I appreciate you. I do. I appreciate you interrupting a very scary, frightening dream and letting me know this.
Yeah, well, nothing is worth winning until you risk what's most important to you. I mean, let's be egocentric. You're what's most important to you right now.
I guess I don't. I have not really built up a whole lot to, I guess, love and protect. Although her eyes will kind of stray a little bit to Tiresias, but not really.
Mhm.
Like, she's, you know,
You'll get there. You'll get there. Don't worry. Always, there'll be some kind of denouement and it'll all work out. It always works out, in my experience.
she knows that she wants to put a little prod in there and say it's like, who found whom hanging from the rafters of a castle, but she keeps her mouth shut. Um,
Exactly my point, my dear. Exactly my point. You know, uh, I mean, no other god in my predicament would be lucky enough to have a god killer show up. I mean, there's not many of you, over time. So, yeah, I think I'm confident to say everything works out. Maybe not exactly as I have foreseen it, but good things good things come to those who wait, and other such easy aphorisms.
and you've waited a long time.
I mean, I was hanging up there for quite a considerable amount of time, but I learned my lesson. I should not play tricks on people. I mean, maybe I haven't learned my lesson, but uh, I
Are you playing a
have.
trick on me now?
Does it sound like it?
I can honestly say sometimes it's hard to tell with you.
Right. Well, I'm glad to see I have maintained my air of mystery. Um, mission accomplished. I can go home now.
I will take your advice to heart.
Right. It's a really good cinnamon bun too. I mean, not the freshest, but I guess can't be expected when it's not even done yet.
I hope you're happy with your payment.
Oh, that's my payment? I guess I'd better eat the rest of the bun, so. My payment presumably is, every so often when the moment takes you, you shall pray in honor of me and not looking for guidance, because it's sometimes you have some of the most interesting challenges I've ever come across my desk, as they like to say in this town. And it's not easy giving answers. And sometimes it'd be nice to say, to hear Wall pray to me and to say, "Hey, Dogtooth, you're an awesome god. Keep doing what you're doing. Wall out."
I thank you. I feel honored that you have answered my prayer. You remind me very much of my friend, and I appreciate that. Would you like to finish the cinnamon roll?
I mean, it is customary to leave gifts for the gods that you worship. A cinnamon roll is not quite where it used to be in the heyday. It used to be a whole cow, or a flagon of wine, or maybe a pint of the finest red ale the city has to offer me. Um, but I will take a cinnamon roll as a sign when things are tough. Your friends have your back.
I still owe my friend money
Oh, I was talking about
for.
me. I was talking about me. But sure, I guess I misjudged the moment. I guess I misjudged the moment. I will take that with as much dignity as I muster. And he stuffs the rest of the cinnamon bun into his gob, waves, and disappears out the window.
She rushes to the window just to see if she can see where he went.
He is wandering down the street and in I don't know what sounds like absurdly dog-toothed thing. There's like a a glass of wine left on a windowsill by late revelers, and he just picks it up and washes down the cinnamon bun and keeps walking. Um,
She literally stands there at the window, looks out with her jaw agape, and then will pinch her scripted arm just to make sure that she's actually awake and just saw that, experienced that whole thing. Is the pain in her in her other hand back?
no, that was just a part of the dream.
Okay. Right.
Or maybe you were just lying on it awkwardly when you were asleep, right?
Right.
And that sensation brought the dream on, or
Oh,
something
jeez.
strange like that. Who knows?
Even worse. Was it real? Was it not? I don't know. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Yeah, she kind of like laughs and she will, I mean, like she notices like, of course, like, dawn has come, and I think she will actually wake up Tiresias. Um and she's like there at the side of the cot or the bed or whatever when he does wake. And she's kind of like leaning in and like waiting for him to just kind of like pop his eyes open and see her.
So yeah, I think you got this. Whoa, stalker startle. Uh,
Sorry, I know that you wanted to leave around first light. Thank you for the
uh,
cinnamon bun.
oh yeah. Y- you were supposed to discover after I was left. I thought I would, beat you at the door. Um,
I had a strange dream and I couldn't sleep after that.
well, I hear midnight snacks are the cause and solution to those kind of dreams. So, okay.
You probably want to get on your way soon. I just wanted to make sure that you were up when you wanted, and I wanted to make sure that I was up to say goodbye.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate it.
And I think she will shyly lean in a little bit further and then give him a kiss. It's a tender one. It's a light one because she's never kissed anybody before anyway. So, but she just does give him a kiss before she comes off of the bed and goes back to putting her stuff together.
So yeah, I think that will take him aback somewhat, but I think maybe he'll just busy himself with things for a while. But yeah, I mean, I think when he is kind of almost ready to leave, it will be like do we need to talk about something or what's going on? I'm gonna see you when I come back, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be here. You can tell me what you've run into, all your new adventures again, when you come back around this way.
Yeah, I'm not sure anything I'm doing counts as adventures for you anymore.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I'll miss you.
Yeah, just I mean, like like always, right? We'll we'll pick up in I don't know how many months.
Okay. Um, And so, just to make sure that her voice doesn't break any further, as she's like, not looking at him, I think she'll just give him like one of those hurried bear hugs around his middle, like she would normally do when she, you know, says goodbye to him as usual. And yeah, she'll rush out of the room and head back to the wizard's tower. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think is next on your agenda? Finding Edmund's loyalists or what
Yeah, I
this
think
pendant opens up?
she did say like she was going to be heading back to the wizard's tower, but she kind of like, as she's stepping out of the inn, I think she's thinking the better of it, and then like she's reaching into her bag and kind of touching the pendant. She's curious.
Mhm.
So, the likelihood of I don't know. Definitely not the wizard's tower, she doesn't think.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so I guess are you feeling someone or something out here?
yeah.
Um, do we think, I mean, I think as we could do it on the surface, which is just this device, or we could do like a much bigger picture, which is like the device and the people it leads to and all of that. So like the faction, as it
Yeah.
were, of Edmund in the city. Is this something that you were feeling out?
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. I think it's not just the pendant. I think it's also like, where it could possibly lead, where these loyalists would possibly still be around, right? I mean, because
Mm.
obviously not anywhere near the wizard's tower, especially with the dampening fields that are around their most precious resources. But, you know, she's got the rest of the town, the rest of the city to kind of take into account here. It's like a more mundane kind of guidance seeking,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So, um, yeah, I think she's like she kind of like moves back into like one of the alleyways or something like that, just to kind of like stay out of the way of the main drag. And I think she's like slowly feeling the pendant, like maybe the grooves of the um, what do they call it? The etching
Mm.
and the raised uh, uh, designs on it. Yeah, and she's just like slowly tracing it out with her hand, and like she's not really looking at it, she's just tracing it, and then she's picturing it in her mind's eye as she's feeling it out. Where would an where would a former monarch's loyal people go? Where would they hide? Where would they stay from prying eyes as the opposing faction rules over the city? And she's kind of like thinking this to herself. And I think she pictures Edmund with his, what was it, wine, ale that he specifically had?
Yeah, I think because Dogtooth brought you there when you asked where the best red ale was, right?
Mm hmm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I guess he just did mention that as one of the throwaway tidbits of information, but yeah, maybe there is going to be some tavern that specializes in this, and
Mm hmm.
it's almost like a secret code.
Yes. I think
If
I
you,
think that's what she's thinking of.
yeah,
She's remembering, like she's feeling this out, and as she's feeling this out and picturing it in her mind, maybe she remembers from the jugs that Dogtooth brought out. Maybe she remembers it as a brand even that's been burned into the jug or etched into the jug as
yeah,
almost like
maybe,
a mark. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe there is something like you say, a mark that was on those eggs or barrels back in
Mm-hmm.
Edmund's cottage.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's almost like too dangerous to have displayed, but maybe there's like, the faded remains of a sign, that's been painted over, that's been taken off, and like the shadow of it has been left on a wall of some tavern, and something that again, maybe only people who know what it is would recognize.
I think in this dawning light, one of the painted over signs has whatever, like a gushing tap or something, like some kind of pictorial for the sign itself. But I think just in this particular light, you could see the old burned groove of this mark has been incorporated into this painted over sign. And she recognizes it even as she's like, feeling this design and seeing this design in her mind's eye. And she kind of smiles to herself as she recognizes that this tavern was one of the places that specialized in this red ale. Because the mark is there, but visible only because the light is striking it in just that way this early morning. So I think she'll go up to. She may or may not go up to the front, but I mean, I guess it depends on whatever looks like it might be open. I mean, I imagine that they would have the like some people like kind of sleeping it off overnight maybe or something, and then just kind of coming out one by one as they get ready for their own day. And she'll go through that entrance.
Um, so yeah, which of these two questions do you feel like answering? Because I think the first thing we should answer is what feels welcoming on the surface. And maybe that's what we can answer right now.
Yeah, I think I can answer that question. I think, excuse me. I think when she comes in through this maybe the side entrance, right? Because I mean, like the main entrance wouldn't be necessarily open. She kind of makes her way in, full of a confidence that she doesn't necessarily like. Well, showing a confidence she doesn't necessarily feel. But I mean, again, it's early morning. Nobody's really saying anything, or maybe they're bleary eyed from last night. And as she enters in, she's like, "It smells nice. It's not a piss poor tavern. It's well kept. Amazingly enough, even through the nighttime, there's a distinct smell of clean. It's hard to explain. It's like still has the smells of booze and everything like that. But I mean, it's not sour. It's not like with any bodily fluids that could be around. Um, and it's just incredibly clean for this kind of place. Very well kept. Like certain woods are shining in this particular light, and there might be somebody behind the bar counter already, just wiping down, continuing their work from the night before. And they actually have like a not a forbidding look on their face, but like almost like a pleasant smile as if they were expecting something to happen. What feels dark and unnerving? but with clarity.
Yes. Yeah. I think, yeah, I think like you come in and you're served and you like maybe you ask for the red ale and there's like a moment. It's like, oh, like you both know this means something, right? Um, and you
I think she
think,
even I think she even like, will say, I don't have regular money, but I do have this, and this is where she won't look at it, but she'll take it out of her pack and then she will slowly slide it over the bar. As long as she sees that this person doesn't have a forbidding look when she mentions the
mhm,
red ale.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, yeah, let's, there's a kind of a gasp which this person can't help but release, something. And I think this is almost like a sign that they are expecting and welcoming to, people of their ilk, people who hold on to the old ways. Uh, but it's like they never thought it would actually happen, right?
I think I think there's also a sense of surprise because she is wearing the darkened robes of the wizards, but yet she has this particular token.
Um, you like, I think my question here would be like, maybe, maybe that's kind of part of the point of the robes, right? It's that unless you see someone in their official capacity, you don't realize what you're looking at.
Hmm.
Um, and when you flash that and maybe they suddenly put two and two together and go, oh, this is a trap, you know, you can see them start to panic because they've like shown that they're a loyalist to someone who now to their mind racing is one of the wizards.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm not. They've welcomed me, but I'm not from around here, and I have met Edmund. He gave me that.
Um, and I think this kind of panic devolves or collapses into relief. And they like fall to their knees and hold on to your hand with this sigil. And they wonder, is he returning? Will he free us? Are you freeing us?
I need to know more. He tried to tell me he was exiled, but I need to know what is happening right now. There's there's something coming, and I need to know whether the wizards can actually handle it and how everyone is being treated under them right now. Can you tell me? I'm Wal.
It, they slaughter our gods daily, monthly. They destroy our beliefs, our ways of life, all to protect us from the very gods we worship.
They can't make a distinction. I know. I know. There are gods that are kind. She's thinking of the voice of the cave. And unbelievable, and she's thinking of Dogtooth. And there's also the gods that I do believe, I know, that deserve death. But I believe in life. I don't want people to fear. Also at the hands of humans that may be doing God's bidding, that bring pain and suffering. I want those that are benign and helpful to live. But I wear their colors right now because they supposedly can help me take out one of the most dangerous gods that mean us, humans, harm. But because they don't believe in any gods, I don't know if I can protect against what they're doing.
With this sigil, we can infiltrate the heart of their power. We can take it. We can take it back.
You know there's some kind of protection or dampening spells that they have on their facilities. Do you have something to counter that?
The sigil, it opens. It opens the gate. You get free reign within.
A gate into the towers? How many? How many can help?
We can gather our numbers. We can be ready soon.
There is a complication. Again, the wizards say they're willing to help me against the god I fight against. But to do that, they want me to help them in their slaughter of all the gods.
Take their help against this god, and then we shall strike them down.
This god that I fight against, that I'm trying to kill, he has human forces coming. And these human forces are doing the very thing that gives this god power. I don't know whether they'd be ready to fight the god's forces and also help me bring this god to a place of reckoning. You can make war with the wizards, but are you ready to make war upon other humans?
Without a god, no army of mortals will be able to take this city.
And thereby weaken the god that they serve. Could it be? Is that something that can help? What kind of defense can you... What kind of defense can you and your people hold against the invaders?
Well, the city has soldiers and its citizens armed and at the walls. What else do we need against brigands, no matter how fierce?
They are fierce and they are bringing numbers. They invade and gather their forces through their invasion. They raise the very warriors that swarm the cities, swarm the towns.
Well, they will break upon the walls. They will have no victories to swell their numbers.
I imagine they're coming quite soon. Perhaps this could be a two-pronged attack. We wait until the Wolf's Head try and attack the city. And if your forces are as strong as you say, taking out the Wolf's Head will weaken the god they serve, called the Orphanmaker. And
No, but you must kill the god first. Otherwise,
all right. Then I will see about having the wizards bring me to that place of power soon.
we will gather our numbers and wait for your signal.
Is this going to be allowing you to come through the gate? Or do I need to bring it in to disable the gate for you to come through?
I think whoever is the wielder can enter.
If I can't take out this particular god, then no amount of civil war is going to help anyone. So I think I will need to destroy the Orphanmaker first. And then I will give you a signal that it is safer to enter through the gate. Will that serve? I leave this symbol in your hands, ready for my signal that it is, the deed is done. My particular nemesis is gone, or done for, and you will then be able to raid the towers.
Well, we cannot tarry. It will take time.
Sooner I do that, sooner I take out the Orphanmaker, the more prepared we'll be. How much time do you need to make sure your forces are at the ready.
I don't know. We'll do it as soon as we can.
I can probably get them to summon tomorrow evening, if that works. If you think that's enough time.
Must be. It will have to be.
I don't. Well, this one's a cagey one. This one has taunted me for a while. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I will do my best to give a signal. And if I fail, I'm sure there will be enough of a signal as well.
More then.
Tomorrow night, then. And she will shake upon it. I don't know if that's enough. And she will leave the pendant with. Does this person give their name?
Yeah, I think it is something reminiscent, but a drift, naming your child after like a favorite sponsor or something. So it's Edgar.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Let's take another break.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess with that early morning beer and conspiracy underway.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, we're ticking off all the boxes. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean,
sure.
head to the tower
Mm-hmm.
and talk about the plan with Azrael, I guess.
Yes.
Um, and I think here there are definitely things in motion, right? The order is, it looks like every single wizard, junior, senior, master, everything in between is working on this. Probably the most, I don't know, gut-wrenching piece here is not just them going through the motions to prepare this ritual, um, but maybe the ironsmiths making a new cage for the Orphanmaker. Um,
She understands it, but she's kind of like. She's also. there's a. There's a particular tug as she's thinking about what if. What if they have a reach beyond the city and they try to hold the voice of the cave or even Dogtooth? It's like she cannot imagine having Dogtooth trapped
mhm.
here in one of these things. But she
Again,
will, again, although she will ask, it's like, this metal, from what I read, the peoples had called down upon them a meteorite, this metal from the sky that could be used against their enemy, a god, possibly like this one. Is there any indication that we have this metal Or where did this metal come from that you're
Mm.
making the cages from?
I think uh, Azrael points to one of the towers towards the wall, and you can see this arc lightning start, and then another one, and then another one, and then all around the city on what seems like every tower. This lightning, this charge starts to build up. And eventually it seems to reach a critical point, and the energy crackles and combines above the city in a dome and then fires off like a reverse lightning bolt into the river of stars above. Which obviously it's daytime, you wouldn't see these, but I think, you get um, this invisible field, and when it discharges, all of the normal light from the sun seems to fade out, and you see the stars above, and the lightning strikes one. The daylight returns slowly, gradually, as if a new dawn has been started. And then you see this meteorite falling out of the heavens.
You figured out how to automate this, the ritual, the summoning of this gift.
Some of our numbers are not set for the ritual to summon the Orphanmaker, but we're set to the task of giving you the tool you need to slay him. Power required from a mortal soul is immense, but for 37 wizards who gave their lives to create the energy to summon a star from the heavens, that is the price we are paying to slay this god.
I don't need a cage. I need a spear. And she just bursts this out like it's not something she thought about, but she just knows this is true. I don't need a cage. I need a spear to get through the heart of Orphanmaker. Can that be done?
And Azrael points out of the city towards towards the crater of the volcano where this meteorite is hurtling. And you hear the explosion as it impacts. There is your metal. Vulcan will forge you something. The rest of the ore he can keep, but the spear, he will rate it for you as the price.
How can you. I know I want to get this done, but I. What price must I pay for the 37 wizards that got
You
sacrificed?
have given your oath. You are one of us, and this is your duty.
And when come the time that I must be sacrificed?
All of our fellow members in those towers volunteered for a duty that they were ready, willing, and able for. When we
She
are
can,
making a new world for our people, one in which we can forge our own destinies, then there will be no more prices to pay.
you say you want all the gods slaughtered, though, and yet you work with Vulcan, or Vulcan works with you.
Well, all is such a strange word. Sometimes we must bend or we will break.
You perform a service for each other. I see. Hmm. I understand. It's all transactional. The weapon is made. Do you need me to challenge, call upon this god that I must destroy? Or are the rest of the cadre able to bring or tempt the Orphanmaker here? What must I do?
We will summon that god for a showdown with you. You must see to the weapons making.
She sets her jaw and says, just tell me where I need to go.
You shall see a plume of smoke in the crater. There, I'm sure you will find Vulcan sniffing at this windfall.
Yeah, I want to get this done. Kill this god before his forces, his human forces, have time enough to gather and invade the city. I will go and get this spear. Where shall I go to meet the Orphanmaker once I have it?
We will summon the Orphanmaker to the crater. We hope that this will interfere with his mortal subject's ability to get to you quickly.
Makes sense. I'll make my way down now. I'll be ready.
We trust that you will be.
Does she feel anything from the hand that was in the water?
Um, I don't know. I think maybe you feel this tingling. I think like the hairs on your arms, both sides, are really raised up by this huge level of electricity. But I think the hand was in the water seems to, I don't know, seems a little immune to it.
Okay. Yeah. I think all the energy is kind of like crackling around, and you just can't help feel like sense everything inside and outside. But I think the quiet of her hand that was in the water is a little bit more disturbing.
Hmm.
But she does make her way towards the crater, and I guess to speak with Vulcan. Oh boy, I'm sure he's gonna love seeing her again.
Yeah. And I think, it's not a huge trek, but it's uh, a couple of hours of walk, and when you get to this, like we'd say, this mini crater inside this gigantic one, you see Vulcan at the bottom of it. And maybe you hear it before you see him. He is hammering at it with a chisel, extracting the metal, this precious Skyfall. And I think, yeah, I mean, it's hard work, even for a god, to
Yeah.
destroy the natural shape and form of this metal. But you think this is harder work than Forge for Vulcan. And he looks at you as you approach and gives you a hard stare. He recognizes you, but I don't know. He's like not especially, maybe too greedy with the task at hand to be angry or possessive about you being back here.
She doesn't know what to say. She's admiring, his skill and ability. I mean, obviously, this is nothing that she can do whatsoever. She does not have any real knowledge of how this goes. And all she can do is just admire his work.
Um, yeah, and I think the when he is chiseling out these slivers of metal, there is sparks, and like you notice this. I think he has an eye patch over one eye. Um, and the sparks are going everywhere, right? These like fizzing, super hot elements um, going out of this crater. Do you think do you think there's something magical or divine about these sparks? Do you think like something happens where they land, or do you think there's some other feeling you get when they whiz by you?
It feels like the universe has opened up its own pocket here at his forge. As the sky metal is beaten and shaped, I think the sparks that fly from the forge itself seem to appear like shooting stars, as if the field surrounding the forge is opening up again a view of the universe where different clouds of multicolor fog, as if we're looking at a nebulae just forming around the forge. And these sparks are the stars shooting across the the, the expanse. And it's like she's just marveling at this, as if she's looking up at the clear night sky, but it's here at the forge instead. She's standing on nothing. She's just gazing into this foreverness, as he works on this sky metal, and it's shaping underneath his hand, lengthening, strengthening, and just... She actually cries. She doesn't realize that she's crying until she feels something damp on her cheek. And she first thinks it's like sweat from the forge, but it's not. It it's like the heat doesn't touch her. It feels like the cold of space. And she touches her cheek, and she realizes that she's just crying. Basfamel's passing is not taking away her appreciation of beauty. And this is beautiful in its own terrible way.
So I think the forging of this spear takes the rest of the day and most of the night. Um, and he fashions this hunting spear with a long spearhead, lugs, um, and I guess something to cover the initial part of the shaft of the staff that will go on it. And you have your new Rowan walking stick, right? Which I
I do.
think is exactly what it will fit on top of. Um, I think when it is ready and still piping hot from the forge and is to be quenched, you see this moment where Vulcan imagines like running the spear through your heart to quench it. Um, and there's this moment where you are maybe enraptured by the kind of beauty of the forge of his craft, where and maybe it's because you're in his realm, right? That you say, "Oh, if that were to happen, that would not be a bad thing. That would like just cap off this beauty." But the moment passes, and he plunges it into a bucket.
I think that steam coming from it, I think, creates just more of these vision of cosmic dust. More nebulae, more beautiful things to look at. Again, as the universe is split, and it's just a vision of more expanse. And for that moment, I think Wal feels very, very small.
So he hands over the spear, finished, sharpened, fitted to your rowan staff.
She takes it with her scripted hand, with all of these symbols and runes on her arm and her hand. I think it's not a tingle, it's a vibration. Almost as if it's so fresh, so new, and yet power calls to something, some kind of power that she still possesses.
And
And
he says, his voice is even more gravelly than before, this extended period at work. If you return, I will inscribe the spear so that none of your enemies may stand against you, mortals or gods.
but it needs to have a first kill before I can do that, doesn't it? I understand. Hopefully, I will return, God of the Forge. And she bows. I appreciate this effort and this beautiful piece that you've created. I think she feels her cheeks getting damp again. Just in the face of this, it's just the visions that she saw as he forged this and made it with his own skill and power. You are an artist.
There is room in this life for creators and destroyers, and we both know what we are.
Yes. She doesn't say it, but she always thought that she was a little bit of a creator, as she copied, and her skills allowed her to illuminate and draw and write. But this helps her acknowledge that she's seen a true creator at work. And her job is to destroy. So, yeah, she accepts his gift and says, I hope to be a pride to your art.
I think you climb out back to the crater bed You see dawn break on the eastern edge of the lip of the crater. In the darkness on the other side, you see the remaining wizards incanting their ritual to summon the Orphanmaker. And when you turn back, you see the Orphanmaker standing at the top step, looking down at you, looking at this meteorite that someone has summoned. And it is furious. I think we should cut there.
I know. Oh my god.
Okay,
Amazing.
stop recording and we'll do our debrief.